two types of objects we'll be dealing with: text objects and non-text objects. Text objects, as the name implies, are text boxes and other items where you insert text. Non-text items are other content like graphics, clip art, pictures, movies, sounds, charts, tables, you name it. Anything but text would be a non-text object. All right. I have a title slide here with some text typed into two different text boxes. So when I click a text box, it is selected and I immediately am able to enter text. If I want to move the box to another location, I position my cursor around the dashed outline. My cursor changes to a little mouse with 4 black arrows, one pointing each direction. This is my move cursor, and I can move my box. Now, I'm holding this in place for, as you see, a new feature in PowerPoint 2013 is my move lines. These lines help me position things more precisely. As you notice, I have a line that's telling me this text box is still parallel to my subtitle. When I move outside of it being parallel, the lines disappear. There are other lines as well, not just lines for parallel, which we'll discuss later. To resize the box, I simply move my cursor to one of the resize handles, and notice my cursor changes to arrows pointing the way the resize will occur. So the sides in the middle will move the box horizontally. The top and bottom in the middle will move it vertically, and the corners are for diagonal movement. So I can make the box smaller or make the box bigger. It's going to undo the change I just made. Now, and undo one more time. Now, in addition, there is a resize handle at the top to allow me to do freestyle rotations. Later in the course, we will learn about a way to make very precise rotations, but the rotation handle allows me to freehand any object, text or non-text, in PowerPoint. I can do that for the title or the subtitle. So that gives us basic ideas of moving objects. Now, I showed you on a text object. What I just showed you is identical on a non-text object. So here on my slide, I have a title content slide. I have 2 text boxes and an image. So 2 text objects and a non-text object. So I have a title, content, and then I have this rows here, this clip art I've inserted. And notice it has its own box with the exact same features as the text box, the rotation handle, and the resizing handles on the corner. Now, if I just were to drag this way, notice the image stretches. If I resize the image diagonally, the image will size proportionally, which means it will not stretch out. So if I just drag this out here, notice how the rows stretches. If I drag it diagonally, the rows is resized proportionately. So as it grows downward, notice it also grows horizontally. And there's another line, layout lines. Notice my layout lines here as I move around, showing me how the object is now in alignment with my title. And of course, I can also move my rows, rotate it, and put it there. We'll cover more image-specific tools here in just a moment. I have another slide here which I have not inserted any content. I haven't typed any text. When I am on a title content slide and other layouts that have a content box, I have 6 icons in that box that only appear if I have not typed text. And these are to insert various objects: a table, a chart, smart art, pictures, online pictures, or video. Pictures are pictures on your local computer or on a OneDrive. online pictures are pictures on Facebook, Flickr, things you can find in the built-in Bing search, or using online clip art. So if I go in here and select my same rows and search for this, here's the rows that I had on the other slide. Now, because I have no text, the box will resize to my picture and there will not be a text box left behind. Notice how the text box goes away because it's actually a content box, which since I had no text in it, it became a non-text content box. But if I have text typed in already and insert an image, the image gets its own box. So here, I cannot type text on this slide. I just can't double click here and type text. Unlike Word, I can only type on a page or on a slide in PowerPoint if I have a text object created, which would be a text box. So on the Insert tab, where we can insert any content that we want supported in PowerPoint, we can select a text box. And as we draw a box out, as you see, I've now created a text box that I can type text in. So now I have my box and my red rows. By default, text boxes auto-size to the text typed in them. So notice, even though I made the box much bigger, when I finished typing, the box snapped to the size of my text. Now I can still make it bigger. Notice I can try to make it bigger, and it snaps back to the size needed for the text. Now, when I have an object selected, you have a contextual ribbon tab. This tab is contextual because it changes based on the object selected. Notice here, format, I have different styles and a range and size options. When I click my image, I get picture tools and I get a totally different set of options because my picture format is different than my text format. For a video or for sound, there are different options as well. So let's start with text and go through some of these options. So the first thing I can do is change the shape. It's a text box, but any text box is still a shape. So I can still make changes to it. For example, I can apply a shape style and give it a background color. I can do some type of 3D effect, as you see here. So intense effect, blue accent 6. Most of the styles are named. This is important if you're taking the certification exam and the instructions tell you to use a particular style. It'll always tell you by name or number, and to find the name or number, you simply point to the style and wait for the tooltip to appear that'll tell you the name of that style. Now notice here, as I get a preview, as I point to them, I get a preview of what it would look like on my slide. To apply the effect, I simply click. The current effect applied is highlighted here, as you see, with a box. So there's my text. I can also change the outline around the box. I can do some effects, all kinds of things I can do here. As you see, there's a 3D effect on that box. So all kinds of things I can do, but it's still a text box, so I can still go back in and edit the text. Now when I edit the text, notice the box jumps back to a straight box. When I'm done editing the text, it will return to the 3D effect that I've applied. Images, lots of options as well. We'll go through these in detail in their own video, its own lesson, because there's so many options. Can't get into all of them here. But some of the most used options, we had styles for our text box. We also have styles for our picture boxes, as you see here. Various styles. Again, point to preview. Click to apply. So I've done a shadow effect on my rows. Now you see it appears down below as well. So that is some basic ideas or basic preview of how to manipulate objects. Now, if I want to copy or paste an object, I simply select the object, select the copy command, which will be Control-C, or right here on the home ribbon under the clipboard group I can copy. I also have the option to duplicate, which is Control-D. So if I just want to quickly make a copy of this image, if I hit Control-D, I get copies. Now I can only duplicate on the same slide. So if I select here, go to this slide down here and hit Control-D, notice I don't get a rose, I get another slide. So I can only duplicate on the same slide. If I want to move something from one slide to the other, I need to use copy and paste. So if I copy this rose, paste this rose down here. Now because I pasted something, it automatically gets its own box. Even though there's a blank content box here, because I pasted it, it's going to get its own box. Now when I paste, I have two options. I can use the destination theme or just paste the picture. Now notice when I paste the picture, it gets rid of the box. Use destination theme keeps the text box. When I just paste the picture, it gets rid of the content box behind it. So those are our paste options. I can also paste special, which allows me to paste in other things. This is something that's beyond the scope of this course, but it is there to paste links from other programs and other advanced content. So, whenever I make a change, this paste will only stay here as long as I haven't changed the object. So if I go up here and add a color to this rose, notice the paste goes away. I can only make a change to the paste style before I've manipulated the image in any way. So that covers the basis of copying and pasting objects. So if we want to copy and paste on the same slide, we can use duplicate, which streamlines the process, or we can use copy and paste to move to different slides. Now, of course, we can also copy and paste from external content. It doesn't have to be content in PowerPoint. I could copy something from a web page, another document, and paste it into PowerPoint. So we just talked about copy, pasting, and duplicating, but there's one other thing we can do. We can cut. Think of cut as move, where if I copy and paste, the original object stays where it was. If I cut and paste, the original object goes away. Copy makes a copy. Cut is like move. There are two ways to cut. The keyboard shortcut is Control-X, or I can use cut under the clipboard group on the Home tab. Next, let's talk about undo and redo. So undo allows me to undo a change I just made. For example, here, let me rotate my rose like that. Now, if I undo that, it'll go back to the way it was. I can undo two ways. I can, on the quick access toolbar, click undo, or I can press Control-Z. Now, on the quick access toolbar, I also have a drop down that shows the last 20 to 25 actions that I performed, and I can undo as many as I want. Redo will do what it says. It'll simply redo the last action that was undid. So if I undo, I can now redo. PowerPoint also has a feature called Find and Replace. This is very similar to the Find and Replace feature found in Microsoft Word, Excel, or other Office applications. To access it, I can use the editing group on the Home tab, or I can use the keyboard shortcut. Find is Control-F, Replace is Control-H. Now, as you see here, I have the word rose written, and I've written rose on every slide. However, I've decided I need to capitalize rows on each slide. This is a simple example of only 4 uses of the word. What if there were 100? I could manually go and fix each instance where I need to capitalize the word, but that's time consuming. So if I press Control H for replace, find what will rows and replace with rows. Now, there's a very important checkbox here, match case. Without it, rows, capital R rows, no different. If I check match case though, it's only going to find rows lowercased and make those changes. So I have rows on 1, 2, 3, 4 slides. Now notice here, I have rows capitalized. So it will ignore that rows because it's capitalized. So if I replace all, I'll be told that it made 4 replacements. And I can look here and see rows is now capitalized. I'm going to undo that change, which notice if I undo it and I find and replace, it undoes it on all slides. Every replace is undone. And I'm just going to click Find Next, which will find my next instance. Once I find next, I can replace just this one. Replace. Notice it now goes to the next instance and highlights it for me, but it has not replaced it. Replace all automatically replaces all of them, and it tells me how many replacements it made. Find is simply just looking for words without having the replacement option. I can if I open the Find box, I can go to Replace by simply clicking Replace. But remember, Find is Control F, Replace, Control H. In this lesson, we looked at the basics of text content and non-text content and looked at basic manipulation options for objects on PowerPoint slides.